So I have no idea if we're doing our jobs here. This presentation and this conversation isn't nearly expansive enough to address the fundamental question of whether what is proposed is morally or practically right. It doesn't look at how we make trade-offs between funding for our core fixed route system and funding for paratransit. I know people like to ignore that, but we have a limited budget and everything needs to be grounded in the trade-offs involved. Real people are hurt either way. That's not the fault of staff, to be clear. The board has not asked for the level of review necessary for us to responsibly make changes. It has not clearly defined the why of access on demand, as it has morphed from a cost-saving measure to a supplemental service that is meant to do something. It doesn't ask, what is our moral responsibility here? A clearly defined mission for AOD should define the more operational questions, like how much do you spend on this? I think we haven't asked because we don't want to know, because these are deeply difficult moral choices that affect people's lives, and it's much, much easier to abstract them away. AOD serves the congenitally blind woman who needs to get to work, the cognitively disabled young man who would be homebound without it. And it also serves the senior citizen who broke her hip and can't drive for 8 months while she recovers. Some people need AOD for life, others for just a few months. This presentation does not break down our AAR spending or AOD spending by rider. It was mentioned, mentioned a little bit by Mr. Worthen about 30% and 70%, but we need far more data on customer behavior to understand exactly what we're paying for. There was no deep analysis about how people use AOD. I don't know whether we get data on, for example, pickup and drop-off locations that could be used to model what kind of trips people are taking. I've thought a lot about this over the last few months, and I still don't have a good answer. What I do know is that the incentives presented today are misaligned, and what's proposed doesn't fix that. A per month cap strikes me as far smarter than our current system. I've talked about this a lot with Director Chandler over the last month or two. The proposal here is prescriptive, only so many trips at only so many dollars. It strikes me we should just tell people, you get an $800 subsidy per month and you pay $450 per ride. That $800 is equivalent to the $20 subsidy times the 40 rides that are proposed in the packet today. That will encourage people to preserve their subsidy by taking the cheapest trips they can. It will enable them to take more trips if they are economical. And for people who only use the service sporadically, it'll enable them to ride longer distances where they need to. This is particularly important for the more rural districts in our service area. We have heard Director Catlin complain about the fact that for her district, a $20 subsidy doesn't get you very far. And it will allow people to take multi-stop trips without any issues because it just comes out of your thing. We don't care at the end of the day how many stops you have. It's the equivalent of, because we're no longer counting the number of trips you have. And if technology allows, we could charge a higher fare on much longer trips, so that if you're spending $100, we could ask for a $10 or $20 fare. So my request to staff is to bring back additional analysis of a dollar subsidy per customer per month structure, like I've mentioned. I also want to see similar modeling for our fixed route customers. How much do we spend each month on a fixed route customer per person? I've never seen that information, and it feels, it's not right for us to make changes to AOD without that data. I think changes are warranted. I have been very clear about the need to have cost containment with everything we know that's coming, but I have to be able to look myself in the mirror after I vote for them. Thanks.